Hello, and again, welcome to Bit Depth. I'm Santiago Ramones. Across from me is...
Jared Lekites. Hello.
Thank you for saying that out loud, because I've not known how to pronounce your last name.
Yeah, a lot of people don't until I say it. I've gotten... It can be Lekites or it can be Luckites. I prefer Lekites because that's just how my family says it.
Yeah.
And I've seen lots of different variations of people with that last name, but the mistaken pronunciations I've gotten are very entertaining.
Yeah.
Leaky titties would probably be the worst one.
Great.
Lekites, which is very exotic sounding.
Yeah.
Which I like. I mean, I could, if I weren't so pale and pasty, I could probably move to like Puerto Rico or something.
Right.
Just be like, yeah, Mr. Lekitas. Here I am.
Yeah, that sounds appropriate.
Move to Florida and be like a parrot head and just drink margaritas all day.
I feel like over time, some people with different like last names or just names in general, like through families and lineages and stuff, they just lose the original pronunciation of a name.
I don't really know the origin of it. I know most of my family is Irish, so I'm assuming it's some kind of Scandinavian descent.
Okay, so my usual first question, or has now become my first question rather than the first question.
First in a series.
Yeah, well, yeah. So it's actually been, how do we know each other?
Well, I think I first met you at a show you did with my bandmate Campbell Young.
Yeah.
And you were opening for him acoustic. So that's how I first stumbled upon the legend of Santiago Ramones.
If you call it a legend.
A leg end.
Yes, if we're continuing on the mispronunciations. And so I know you sort of secondhand through Campbell and Jimmy.
Another bandmate of mine.
Yeah. Because both of them have been on the podcast.
Right.
Just getting everyone from the Lunar Laugh.
Now you just need to get Connor and you'll have about everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody that's worth it, really.
So now my actual first question. What do you do?
Well, I am a musician. I'm in a band called the Lunar Laugh.
Yeah.
I write the songs. I sing the songs. I help produce the records. I play guitar a little bit on the albums. I'm playing a lot of different instruments. Not very well, but I'm playing them. That's what I do.
Yeah. So how do you make that happen? Because you guys actually make it happen.
Lots and lots of determination and coffee.
Yes.
Really, on the first couple albums, we only have 2 albums out. I'm doing the lion's share of the songwriting, and I think it's mostly just me having a big stockpile of songs because I've been writing songs forever, or since I could remember. And it helps having people like Campbell and Connor who also can contribute to writing, so we just kind of stock up on songs really quickly.
Yeah.
And instead of just kind of keeping them in a corner, I just like to get them all recorded as much as possible.
So when did you start doing music in whatever form that would be?
Well, I've always been kind of musical in terms of I've always liked to sing since I was just a little kid running around, going crazy. Like I was obsessed with people like Garth Brooks and the Beatles, of course.
Yeah.
And those were, it kind of sucks that my favorite things are like the biggest things in music because it's like I don't feel that special, but I like a lot of I like a lot of
not
different
every
things.
Not every artist has to be this. Oh, I know the indiest of the indie hipster thing.
It's like, who's your favorite? It was like, well, I like the Beatles. It's like saying like, what's your favorite restaurant? Oh, I like McDonald's.
Sure,
and I really do like McDonald's,
right?
Though. But you know,
the Beatles aren't the McDonald's of music.
No, that's good. But they have probably served over 10 million.
Right. Maybe
3 billion, or
I don't know, like Kenny G or something is the the McDonald's of music.
I did have a Kenny G CD at one time, and it was not to be ironic. It was because it was actually very sick. It was what the top 40 music was at the time. And I've got some years on people. I'm showing my age.
So what did you start like playing or singing or?
When I first picked up guitar for real was in high school, because a lot of my friends were playing guitar. They'd be in leading worships and stuff, and it just kind of was what they did. Like at lunchtime, you'd have lunch and then you'd bring out the guitars and we'd all sing along. So I said, well, I guess I could do that. So I started learning guitar kind of just by watching people.
Sure.
And then, once you know every Matchbox 20 song, you can kind of entertain friends and then you kind of make up your own songs. So that's when I started writing. I got more serious about writing once I got into college, and that's when I put out my first sort of solo work that predates the Lunar Laugh.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you still write and perform as Jared?
Really, actually, this year I put out what I would consider to be probably my last solo project for a while. I wrote this song called Freebird. Funny story there. We were playing somewhere in Ada, and this guy kept yelling Freebird.
Right.
And so I was like, I'm just going to go home and write a song called Freebird. We all have something to play. And it was kind of just a joke song. So I just put it out under my own name along with some cover songs that I did.
Yeah.
Just gave the cover songs away for free on Bandcamp. Cool. And so that would be my final, or it's what I plan to be my final solo venture, because the Lunar Laugh kind of occupies everything in my world at this point.
So, what did you go to college for, and how did that develop your songwriting?
Well, when I was a freshman in high school, I wanted to go to college for film restoration.
That sounds awesome.
It would have been great. And I wanted to go to UCLA and do that, but
that's expensive.
That is really expensive, and also I had no idea what kind of classes I had to take to make that happen, and neither did my guidance counselor. So, so thank you to her. And then when I was in sophomore year, throughout my freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year of high school, I decided I really liked acting. So I got into musicals, musical theater. I did all the drama plays. I started doing what was then Lyric Academy. Did a couple shows with Lyric Theater.
Yeah.
And then I was going to go to college for that, and then I kind of fell out of love with it. Not saying that there's bad people in it, but the usually the parents behind it can kind of raise some asshole kids. Pretty much. Because they're only concerned with, you got to get on Broadway, you got to be perfect all the time. I remember being at an audition, and some parent was giving me the worst advice, on purpose. They told me, make sure that when you go in to do your audition song, you snap your fingers at the accompanist, which, I already knew that was really rude to do. So I was like, oh yeah, thank you. Okay. It's screw you too.
Right.
But yeah, I just fell out of love with it, and I felt like it wasn't my dream. It was just something I did for fun. My first love was always music, so I decided freshman year of college at OU, I was pretty much undeclared. So what I did was I just took whatever class I wanted to. And just explored my options, and I'd come home, sit in the dorm and play guitar. And my roommate would get really stoned. And that was college.
Well, I'm sure that's a lot of people's major in college, going home and getting stoned.
There's such pressure, I think, when people first start college that you have to know what you're going to do, and really you don't. Part of the fun of being at college is you get to find out what you want to do, or you get to find people that share common interests with you that you might not have had in high school. And people from different parts of the country or parts of the world, because it's college.
But then you also have to pay for it.
Yes, that was a crappy thing. I I didn't think that I was getting my money's worth
Right.
some of the time.
And I mean, especially from OU, no offense.
I mean, you know, I pledge no loyalty to any school.
Yeah. But
I appreciated it when I was there,
yeah.
but probably not as much as other people appreciate it.
Not into that whole bedlam thing.
No, I never went to. The only time I ever went into that stadium was when U2 played there with the Black Eyed Peas. I'd never been to a game there, and I can honestly say it's the most disgusting bathroom I've ever been in.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I went into the stall, and there was just like poop all over.
Yeah, yeah.
Like not on the ground.
Right.
Like someone just missed the toilet entirely. This conversation took a very sharp turn. So yeah, stay in school, kids.
Yes. But I guess not in the stadium, I guess. That's a part of the school.
I mean, I think they're going to tear that stadium down, so I can
they have the money for it.
I can badmouth it now.
Yeah.
They're talking about building a new one, from what I understand.
That is
Boomer Sooner.
yeah.
They put the boom in Boomer Sooner.
So then, did you like graduate with something?
No, I did not. I dropped out of college because I fell out of love with it, and I fell out of money.
Yes,
pretty much.
Yes.
And I don't regret it at all. I feel like I've gone farther than a lot of people that I was in college with, because you know, I got a job. I was able to get a better apartment and continue to get better apartments because when I was working, I could just kind of save up my money and just keep going. Got really nice apartments. Each one was nicer than the last one.
Yeah.
And it helped that I had someone that I was living with, who I'm married to now, that also had a job and didn't go to college, so they didn't have to pay off these student loans. I'm not saying that nobody should go to college.
Right.
Obviously, if
we are in one right now.
Yeah, if you're in college, I totally support you, especially if you want to, you know, have a degree. I don't have a degree, but it's not the end of the world.
Make it work.
Yeah. It depends on what you want to do in life. If you want to be a doctor, yes, you should probably go to college. If you want to be a lawyer, yeah. That wasn't my calling, and I didn't feel like I needed a degree in music business to start, you know, playing my songs for people. I could kind of learn as I go, and that's the way I like to learn instead. I like to learn from mistakes, and I make a lot of them.
Plus, nowadays, people can just learn everything from the internet.
That's true. YouTube and all that jazz. I actually learned a lot about the music business from books.
Yeah.
I just went and checked out some books, and some of them are kind of antiquated now. There was one called like Start and Run Your Own Record Label. And I'm pretty sure it was all about how to start a cassette label.
Oh, right.
Which is very trendy to do now, but back in 2009, it was like, why?
But come on, it's 2009. CDs are all the rage.
It was more like, just got this new MP3 off iTunes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was able to kind of make it work. Again, it's not like I'm selling like platinum sales, but who is? But yeah, here I am.
The
Lunar Laugh has been pretty successful so far.
Yeah, exactly. So then what's the difference between what Jared makes and what the Lunar Laugh is?
The Lunar Laugh, I think of more like a collective, because there's more people to go through. There's more people contributing ideas. Even though I kind of have the final say, I like to have there's more people contributing to what the final sound will be.
Yeah.
Whereas all my solo stuff is just me.
Yeah.
And it's me making all the decisions, and me going, like playing all the instruments on some of them and doing all the vocals. Yeah. Whereas with the Lunar Laugh, there's a lot more input from other people.
Yeah.
In both ways, I like to work both ways. So, and sometimes I play more instruments on the Lunar Laugh albums than other people. In
Cool.
fact, the first Lunar Laugh album started as a solo album. And then it was Graham Colton, who was producing it with me, said, this sounds very different from everything else you've done.
Right.
And I was like, yeah. And he said, so you should put it out under a different name. And I thought, I could do that. And his analogy was like, think about it like a poster. Would you want to, if you saw a poster that said Jared Lekites, like, would you want to go see that show? Or if you saw it that said something, he gave me some example of like, if you saw it and it said like Radiohead or whatever band, it was like, would you like to go see that instead?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. So I came up with the name, The Lunar Laugh, and that was taken off an album that came out in the 60s called let's see, Cosmic Sounds of the Zodiac, and it was all this weird poetry over instrumental music.
Cool.
And it's all about like the star signs and like Geminis and Capricorns.
Yeah.
And there's one that was for Cancer, and in the middle of it, he just goes, "And laughing, the lunar laugh." And I thought, well, that's a good phrase.
Yeah, yeah.
And we happened to be working in Lunar Manor Studios, so I was like, the lunar laugh, Lunar Manor, there we go.
Yeah. And it sounds cool and pretty unique.
Yeah, a lot of people
Also
think
has a the.
Yeah, and a lot of people think it's supposed to be like a comedy group too.
Oh.
And I think that kind of brings us more of an audience too. Because
Yeah.
people are like, hey, we're going to laugh. It's like, oh, no, you're not.
Yeah. Although it's a little too on the nose to make a comedy group have the word laugh in
That's
it.
like Cedric the Entertainer.
Yeah,
like-
yeah.
At least he's not Cedric the Comedian,
Sure, sure. But I mean,
Chance the Rapper.
yeah. But at least those things you can expect. But like if something is telling you like you're going to come here and laugh, like I probably would be prefaced not to. Just like, ugh.
It's like calling your movie The Funny Movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't tell me what's funny. So then how did you arrive at getting these other people, and how did that happen?
Well, Connor was the first to kind of join me. He sang backup on a couple of the songs on the first album, and he did such a good job that I was thinking, like, what happens when we have to take this out on the road? Because really, it's just me and session people playing on it. So I knew he could sing very well, and I knew he could play guitar better than I could. So I was like, why don't we just team up and we can be like a duo? And we'll just start playing acoustic in places and kind of build an audience from there.
Sure.
And if we need to do full band, we can hire people to be in full band for like a gig. And that's kind of what we did for about a year. And then when we started working on the second album, we were working with Campbell's cousin at the time. He was playing bass or guitar for us. And then he mentioned that his cousin Campbell was working at ACM and he needed to record a band for some final he was working on.
Yeah.
And so he contacted us, or we contacted him, vice versa. I don't know. And he ended up recording one of our songs. And that's part of that recording was actually used on the second album.
Yeah.
So, and that was kind of his joining, and then for some reason his cousin couldn't make it anymore when we were doing shows, so we were like, hey, do you play bass? And he was like, I do. I'm in like 2 other bands right now, but I could come play with you. And so like eventually we just started getting him playing bass with us, and it sounded really good. He would start harmonizing with us, and we'd suddenly have these great 3-part harmonies. And one thing led to another, and the next thing he knows, he's like doing a photo shoot with us, and he's like, so am I in the band? And I said, yeah, I guess so. And then Jimmy kind of came through Campbell because we needed a drummer. So it was a gradual process, and they're 3 of my best friends right now. So.
Yeah, that's great. So what do you write about?
I write a lot about relationships and friendships that have failed, people that have pissed me off, people that I have pissed off. basically whatever really bothers me enough that I have to write a song about it.
Yeah.
And it can be a love song too. Like if I'm just like, I love you so much, it's so like stupid, I just need to write it. So yeah, it's and a lot of times it comes as like I'll get the hook first, or I'll get the chorus first, and it'll be strong enough that I feel like I have to write a song around it. And then sometimes it's just totally improvised. It just kind of comes out of playing a chord on your guitar, and then you start singing over it.
Yeah.
There's no right or wrong way. It just a song happens.
What song of yours are you the most proud of? Pick a favorite child, basically.
So yeah, I love all of them, but the one that has really made a difference for me and for the Lunar Laugh is Work in Progress. We put it out as a single last year, or towards the end of last year, and it just kind of took off. Musically, it was already one of my favorite songs because I felt that lyrically it was miles ahead of the other stuff I'd written. And then musically, it sounded really good because we recorded most of it in Nashville, and just Nashville people they got their crap together. They know what they're doing. And so it sounded good, and the lyrics were good. And so when it came out, we were really excited about it. So I put it out as a single for the Lunar Laugh. Put it out as a single because we all kind of agreed like this is a good song.
Yeah.
And it just kind of took off, and in Spain of all places, and we started getting like these messages like, "Viva la Lunar Laugh," things, just things that we need Google Translate for,
right?
And we'd started getting reviewed in like Spanish blogs, and all of a sudden we get this message saying that there's a guy running a label in Spain that wants to put out our album whenever it's finished.
Huh.
And so from that one song, we got an album deal. We got this big fan base in Spain that we might never see in real life unless we just decided to do a quick tour there. And it's just, I can't be more appreciative of what that song has done. And then I think a second favorite would be Mama's Boy, because I feel the same way about it that I do Work in Progress. I feel like I summed up what may have taken a period of like 20 plus years into like a 3-minute pop song. And it's not easy to do.
Yeah. So I guess in your opinion, what makes a song successful or good?
Successful is kind of a tricky word. What makes a song good for me, if it moves me, like if it makes me want to, like if it grabs me in and makes me want to sing along, or makes me kind of want to move around with it. And also, if a song is good enough that it kind of makes me want to cry.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be like a sad song, but there's certain chord changes or certain ways that vocals can move over things that makes them very emotional.
Yeah.
Kind of like a good movie.
Yeah.
Like like the first 10 minutes of the movie Up.
Yeah.
Where it's just, you're going to cry when you watch it. And it's like, how is this like computer animated movie like controlling my emotions? That's kind of how I feel about music. I feel when it's that good, that's when it's the best.
Yeah. Examples, I guess. A good like making you move song, and then a good like emotional song.
Okay, a good song that makes me move. I'd have to say like songs like, I'm a big 60s fan, so songs like 1, 2, 3 by Lynn Barry. It's got that kind of Motown drum beat. Any song that's Motown is going to be good.
Oh yeah.
For me.
That's why they ran on that train for a while.
So 1, 2, 3. It starts with this boom, psh, boom, boom, psh, boom, psh, boom, boom, and then the horns come in, and it's like begging you to dance to it.
Yeah,
and then on top of all that, there's this amazing vocal by this white guy who sounds like this black lady, pretty much. He's like 1, 2, 3, and that's how it'll elementary, it's gonna be. The lyrics are pretty stupid,
Right.
but it doesn't matter because the voice is so like convincing. And it's really a stupid song.
Right.
But it just makes me want to move. It makes me want to dance. And I can't help but sing along with it. Every time it comes on in my car, it's like full blast all the time. And a song that would make me cry, pretty much anything on Pet Sounds, which is a bit cliche to say, but I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care about cliche because I don't know anything.
There's a Pet Sounds is I can't even put it into words. It's just the layered instruments, the way the vocal arrangements are on that whole album. Brian Wilson was definitely putting a lot of love into that album.
Yeah, and it inspired Sgt. Pepper's.
Absolutely. I've never cried when hearing Sgt. Pepper, but I love Sgt. Pepper. But it makes me cry so much that I can't listen to it too much.
Dang, yeah.
It's I definitely can't listen to it all the way through without wanting to just reach for the Kleenex.
What's a kind of music or a genre of music that you've wanted to do but may not be like appropriate for the Lunar Laugh?
I've always wanted to do kind of more of a I don't want to say easy listening, but like a big kind of production, not quite so, I think going back to when I was doing musicals, I liked the big kind of ballady songs.
Yeah.
But not like the power ballads. I mean more like the like a Jimmy Webb song, like who Oklahoma's own Jimmy Webb, everybody. He did these really grandiose songs that only certain singers could do, like people like Linda Ronstadt or Glenn Campbell did a whole bunch. So songs like By the Time I Get to Phoenix, or so, they're kind of just cheesy songs, or MacArthur Park, a song about a freaking cake melting in the rain that's like 8 minutes long. I've always wanted to do like stuff like that, but I don't know if it's not appropriate because the Lunar Laugh, I like to say we don't want to label ourselves as one thing, but I don't know of a lot of audience that was wanting to hear that right now. But it's always there. I kind of have it in the back of my mind. If I ever go back to doing solo stuff, like that would probably be the concept of the album, like just torchy songs, kind of, or like standards. But I don't want to do a standards album because everybody does a standards album, and it's like, who told Rod Stewart that he could sing a Frank Sinatra song? And like, the stuff they play on Delilah, kind of.
Yeah.
Or like Adele.
Right.
Like a kind of, I think I could see myself like doing a kind of an Adele-ish album.
Maybe do like a B-side or 2 or 4 or whatever.
Yeah. The thing is, it needs pipes, and my pipes aren't bad, but they're not as worked as, they're not as trained.
Yeah. Well.
I did take voice lessons a long time ago, and my voice instructor. This is, if you don't mind me telling a story.
Go for it.
He was a very interesting cat. I hope he's listening. But he had this way of talking. He was like, "That was very good until y'all started singing." Like that. That's how he talked. And he worked with like people like Kristen Chenoweth, or he went to school with them, I should say. And he was great. Like just everything he said was just an insult.
Yeah.
To like he was like, you're just not singing from your vagina enough, and it needs to come from here. I need more sforzando and less vibrato. And that's the way he talked. Just sold it.
Yeah.
There was one time I was doing some kind of audition song, and he was playing through it on the piano. He was like, "So I just need you to get on the floor and poop like a dog when you sing this song." And I was like, "Well, what?" He's like, "When you breathe, when your dog poops, you see his chest rise." And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to be thinking of poop whenever I sing this song.
Right.
So, yeah, that was my voice lessons experience.
Southern isms are so
But it was great. It did help me. I did learn a few things.
Yeah.
The most important thing I always thought of was think about the words you're saying.
Yeah.
Don't just sing the words. Just think about it. Say it like it was a sentence, and like say it as if you believed it.
Yeah.
And it helps when you write the songs because like you know
Yes,
what you're talking
definitely.
about.
Yeah.
But when you do other people's songs too, I think you kind of have to know what you're singing about.
Yeah. So what's sort of the like the separation between songwriter and performer?
Well, songwriter Jared is a very depressed person. A lot of our songs, I always get the comment to this, is like the words are very melancholy and the music itself is kind of more upbeat. And I've always appreciated that juxtaposition because I kind of feel that's a good analogy of how I go about, like, I may come off as like cheery and like
Sure.
cracking jokes all the time. Really, I kind of, I do get depressed and
Right.
I get sad a lot, and that's when I usually write songs.
Yeah.
And then when up on stage, being the one that's in the middle of the band, performer Jared has to be a little more upbeat.
Yeah.
It's not putting on a front because I really do enjoy being on stage.
Yeah.
Just drink a couple Coca-Colas and I'm happy and peppy. And I enjoy the energy, especially when it's a good show. It's not hard to be up and be on point.
Yeah.
When the show's going badly, I start making the sarcastic comments in between songs, like, here's another one.
Right.
Like, that was one example. But yeah, I don't think they're two different people. I think they're just two different sides of the same person.
Yeah. Because you've listed a lot of people who do like just perform songs.
Yeah.
And like Frank Sinatra didn't write all of those standards, but
you would think he
performed
did.
the heck out of
the
them.
way he performed them, it's like he lived them.
Yeah.
And what I appreciate about Frank Sinatra, every concert I've ever seen or heard of his, he always mentions who wrote it. He's always like, and this one is by Sammy Cahn, one of the greatest writers of our generation, and a great arrangement by Nelson Riddle.
Yeah.
He always did that, and I'm sure like none of the people in the audience were like, oh great.
Yeah.
They were like, we just want to hear you sing.
Yeah. No, I think that, and I mean, for me as a songwriter and performer, they're two different they're two different sides of the same coin, but a different mentality goes into each one.
I feel like when I'm a songwriter, I kind of have to be more disciplined. When I'm on stage, it's kind of like anything goes.
Yeah.
Like we can be wacky. When I'm a songwriter, I tend to think myself like, maybe I'm not writing this for myself. Like maybe someone else might end up singing this, so it has to be a bit better.
Yeah.
I always, when I'm writing a song, it has to reach a certain level of perfection before I think it's done. Not perfection, but a level that is in the realm of perfection.
So then, like, when is it done?
When I say so.
Yeah. Right.
That's the $1 million question. Like when is it done? Because when you're recording it, especially, I always get the urge to keep adding stuff to it.
Yeah.
And that can get dangerous, especially in a band that's only 4 or 5 piece.
Yeah.
Because on stage, it's like, well, we're going to have to use tracks for this one.
Yeah.
If you get too crazy. But really, when it's done, I know in my heart it's done because I can. It's like when you raise a child. Not that I've raised a lot of children, but I would think like there's a certain point when you have to let it go, and like it's time for college. Let go of your child, or your child starts driving. You know, your child's 18. It can stay out late, make its own decisions. And that's kind of how I feel when a song is finished. I'm like, it's fully matured. It can go out on its own and face the real world.
And then, is there anything else that you wanted to add about the Lunar Laugh?
Well, at the moment we are. I don't know when this will air. Will this air before December?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to be playing at the Root on December 30th,
Awesome.
and I believe that's going to be our last show of the year.
Cool.
And then
that is as close to
Yes.
the end of the year.
We're going to go out with a bang. We're going to go out with the Root.
Shifting to my other side of the podcast where I ask less comfortable questions. Starting with what is the role of spirituality or religion in your life?
I don't consider myself a very religious person. When I was born, my parents were getting divorced, and we were in a Catholic church household, and that divorce is very frowned upon, especially back in the early 90s, late 80s. Speaking of divorce, 8 ladies. No. Back then when the Pope wasn't as forgiving as this new one we got. So, you couldn't be divorced and like still go to church. So we just didn't go to church. And like the only time I ever went to church as a kid was like during a wedding or a funeral. And it was usually a Catholic ceremony, and it looked very weird to me because people were just like kneeling and standing down and sitting up, and there's like participation, like you have
everybody
to,
would
like,
know the song and the phrase to say.
And it was like the priest would come out and say, "Peace to you," and everyone would say, "And to you also." And I'm like, where did we learn this? Like, I didn't go to Catholic school. So I was pretty much not raised with religion. I was raised to know that there was like a God. In my and I need to preface this by saying I don't think I'm right about everything.
Right.
I just know what I feel to be right in my mind.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that it's better or greater than anybody else's feelings.
No, I always try to make sure that these are just the opinions of the people that I'm asking, not necessarily the truth, if there is one.
I'm very much into, I have to have it physically to know that it's for real. And, it's one of those things where they say, it just hasn't been proven, because how can you prove that God exists? Well, you have to have faith. And I'm like, well, faith isn't good enough for me.
Right.
I've had faith in people and they've let me down.
Right.
So, and they say, well, God won't let you down. And I'm like, well, what do you call, when a disaster happens, what do they call it? An act of God. They don't call it an act of Satan, even though that would be really cool. To read that in the contract, it's like, if an act of Satan occurs.
Right.
So it's weird to think about for me, just because I didn't grow up with it. But when I started high school, all my friends went to church. So I started going to church with them, and that was when I first got to expose to the positivity of Christianity. Pretty much, I have no problem with religion. I have a problem with hypocrisy.
Yes.
And every religion has a dose of that. Every religion has something I agree with, something I don't agree with. I mean, I'm talking major religions, not like Pastafarians or anything. Although I do like pasta.
Yeah.
I think really in the end, I just try to be as good as a person I can be. And I don't want some like magical being in the sky to be controlling my life. I want to be in control of my life. I'm a control freak. I like to hold the remote. I like to have control of the radio on road trips. I don't like giving it away.
So, what's sort of been your experience with the hypocrites? And
thankfully, my friends that are in the church or were in the church or that are consider themselves like uber Christian, they've been nothing but kind, and that's what a good Christian should be. I think is just a good person that loves unconditionally, quite like the God or the Christ that they worship. And really, I bet Jesus was a cool guy. I'm not doubting his existence. I'm not doubting that he was divine, because what do I know? But I don't follow him or consider myself a Christian. But as far as hypocrisy goes, I don't like how they pick and choose what is right and what is wrong, just based on books that weren't written at the same time, books that have been translated over and over again, books that have been censored by religious leaders and governments over a period of thousands and thousands of years.
Yeah.
I don't like that we pick and choose things that were said, meaning one thing, and they say, oh, they apply it to this.
Yeah.
Stories about how many sheep you should have is now suddenly relevant to how many cars I should own or something. Not saying that's a specific example, but it's like that for me. And hypocritically, I think church sometimes likes to manage people's lives way more than they should. They like to get involved in the marriage. Yeah. They like to kind of assume the gender roles of people, that the wife should be the good wife that stays home or cooks all the meals, and the man has to go out and work.
Right.
I can't tell you how many church services I've been to that, and not like youth services, but the grown-up church, where it's like, have you been a good wife to your husband? Has your husband been a good husband to your wife? Things.
Yeah.
And it's like so old-fashioned, and I'm just over it.
Yeah.
But as hypocrisy, it's not just a religious problem.
Yeah.
It's just an everyday problem.
Yeah. So for you, how does you or anyone be good? How do grammar as well?
Not being an asshole, really. Yeah. Use your blinker when you're driving.
Please, oh my gosh.
It's kind of, I do like the question, what would Jesus do? And so many people wore those bracelets, WWJD, and they were not doing what Jesus would have done. It's a lot of people take that message and apply it to themselves in a selfish way. The worst so-called Christians, I think, are the ones that are on TV asking you to give them like money to build their church, to build this mega Jesus park,
and then not let anyone in.
And I'm not saying that Christianity is the only religion that there is a problem with. Again,
but we are in Oklahoma.
We are in it's the one that is most relevant to where we are location-wise. Sort of in the Bible Belt, where there's a church on every corner.
Yeah, just about. Yeah.
And I do. If I was invited to church, I'd go.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that I agree with everything that's being said, but I bet not everybody that goes there does. Really?
Yeah. So, what do you, I guess, encourage sort of for people to publicly do for one another, or whatever that might mean, to make the world a better place?
Well, geez. I can only say I'm only human. I have my own faults. So to be a good person, I think, if you see someone begging on the street for $1 and you have $1, give them one. If you see someone that needs help them. If you see someone that is doing wrong, tell somebody about it.
Yeah.
That's, basically that's it.
Yeah.
It's just, don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Really.
It's great.
If I started my own religion, it would be like, don't be a dickism. Like,
yeah. A lot of people do follow that.
Yeah. I lean a lot towards Buddhism because it's very, it's got that air of spirituality that's like, higher, like we're on higher planes like of existence. But then again, there's also a good degree of bullshit in Buddhism as well.
And every religion.
Yeah. Yes. But I don't like to consider myself a what's the word?
What, like
A non-believer.
Oh, right. Oh, okay.
I don't like to say I don't believe in anything.
Yeah.
Because I believe in myself, and that's the most important person you can believe in.
Yeah. I do have these like straightforward questions that I've been wanting to ask more often, and just a good yes or no, or you can feel free to elaborate.
Yeah.
God? Question mark.
I don't think so. Just, and I'm not saying I'm totally right about that.
Right.
He could show up anytime, but he hasn't.
Yeah. And again, this is just your opinion.
Yes. It's kind of like, but it's okay. I won't say I don't believe in he exists, because when I get angry, what do I say? God damn it. So, if he's there, he's very mad at me for taking his name in vain.
Well, I mean, I've probably done worse things than just say God damn it. So,
if he's there, I'm more power to him. Because he's the world he's created is very interesting. And he's probably laughing his ass off just watching us tear it apart.
And then free will, question mark.
I believe in free will. It's my favorite movie about a whale. No, it's if there is a God, I'm glad he gave us free will. You can, but is it really free? Is it really your own will? Because at the end of the day, it's hard to be a nonconformist, because at the end of the day, you still have to drive on the right side of the road.
Yeah.
You can't be
on the left if you're in Japan or Britain or whatever. I don't know if I have any
whatever
British
side
listeners.
of the road is relevant to where you live. If you drive on the wrong side, they say, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I'm a nonconformist, man." So you still have to get up and go to work. You have to live your life. You have to make money. So, but you have the choice not to.
Yeah.
You can just stay in bed all day and be fat.
Yeah.
And eat Cheetos and binge watch Stranger Things. And that's free will.
Yeah. And probably a lot of people have been doing so.
I prefer Funyuns to Cheetos.
Right. Oh. Well, they give me like crunch mouth if you eat too many of them.
Yeah. Well, you got to get the snack bag. At Thanksgiving, I make this green bean casserole. And you put the dry onions, French's fried onions on them.
Yeah.
But I put Funyuns, like I mash them up, and that's the seasoning.
Yeah.
And it's so good.
Yeah.
It was
I might try that next time. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. You can just use any recipe you find on like foodnetwork.com.
Right. Or like the side of the cream of mushroom can or something.
Yeah. And then just add like a bunch of crushed up Funyuns, and then lay some Funyuns on top, like whole Funyuns.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's always the hit of Thanksgiving.
It's never quite the turkey, is it? It's always the things around the turkey.
I'm a dark meat I'm a dark meat guy. I can never get into like the white meat's just too dry for me. It just gives you that cotton mouth, and you always have to douse it with gravy before you can eat it.
Yeah. So free will.
So yeah. Sorry to any vegetarians out there.
Right. Nah, I'm not. They know what they're getting into. By being vegetarian.
I don't want to trigger them.
Right. Well, there was a warning in episode 1, I think. Anyways, so then, if there is, by your opinion, if there is no God or whatever, are you comfortable with death?
I'm not afraid of death, but I think if you live a fulfilled life, if you, like I said, if you're a good person, then death shouldn't be something that, is scary. I think death is scary for people that have doubts about their life.
Yeah.
Or doubt that they're a good person. And sometimes you can get in a scary situation and think, oh, I'm going to die. The biggest fear I have about death is that, I might not have told somebody that how much they mean to me.
Yeah.
So I always try to say like how appreciative I am of people while I'm here.
Yeah, yeah.
And then as long as I do that, like death is like, ain't no thing. Just
Yeah. Yeah, and then you can not worry about all the others. The last guest that I had on the podcast she works at a funeral home or several funeral homes.
That would definitely give you perspective on death. I think. I'm a scared. I'm afraid of a slow, painful death.
Sure.
If it's gonna hit me, I'd like it to just be quick and done. I don't want to be like vegetable.
Yeah.
Just kind of chilling in a hospital. Like I've already told people, like just unplug me. Remember me as I was.
Yeah. Plus, we have like great music and this podcast now. So like,
there we go.
To remember you by.
I don't want to be buried in the ground, and I don't want to be cremated. I haven't thought of what I wanted to do. I know I don't want to be in the ground because I don't like. First of all, I don't like being outdoors that much. But I definitely don't want like bugs getting in and like crawling over me.
Could like put a boat out to sea or something.
That'd be kind of that'd be very Mark Twainish or something. I kind of like the idea of a moratorium, or like an indoor, like just kind of be put in a wall or somewhere.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be burned because what if I can feel it? You don't know. Like, what if you,
right.
Like, because I read, like, I keep seeing the study pop up that's like, it says your brain still works after you're dead, and I'm like, well, if it still works, like, can you still feel stuff? So I don't know. I'm as uncertain about that as I am that there's like a God.
Right.
Like I have no idea. I'm just kind of going with the flow.
Sure. Whatever happens.
Yeah. It is what it is.
Yeah. And then I tend to ask about politics or just sort of the general view of politics, because not necessarily about the dividing lines or whatever, but more so because of the implications that what someone thinks should be policy would also reflect how they treat other humans. So how's politics looking like for you?
I hate them. Most of the time, a politician, they're not going to be a perfect person. They're human beings. And it ranges from like the sweetest person to like the most ugliest, like terrible person you could think of, like the 45th president of the United States. But in many ways, politics and religion kind of go hand in hand. For me, because what bothers me about them, even though that people can live their lives through them, the hypocrisy again. Just people just being so like unappreciative of what we have. People being so terrible to people, and it seems like, especially in Oklahoma, there's a big push to create more homeless people. Like that's everything they're cutting, all the mental health care. It's just going to cause this huge uprise because there are going to be people that are out on the street because they can't get their medication, they can't get any help, and then they've already killed the education system. So there's going to be dropouts and just people just wandering around, and it's like. I've never seen a state so determined to have a bleak future. And it's a pattern that's repeated itself because it's happened before in terms of bleak future. I mean, in this state, and if I didn't have strong family connections here, I don't know if I'd stay here. Because, it's government isn't helping the situation because the government is pretty much in cahoots with big oil, and you know, not that big oil is bad because it gives people jobs and stuff, but it's not the people I want to be in charge of education and healthcare.
Yeah.
Government and politics are they're no bueno for me.
Right, right.
I just again with religion, there's a lot of things about it that are antiquated. I don't understand why we can't have election day be like a holiday where everything can shut down and everybody has to go vote. I can't understand why, the popular vote and the whatever the other vote is,
Electoral.
the electoral vote. I don't understand why we need both of them. Like, why can't it just be we vote and then that's it? Like, why do the people I vote for or the people I didn't vote for that won like years ago, why do they get to suddenly decide like what's right for me?
Right.
What's right for, I feel like it's an illusion that we have a voice in the government. And although there's moments when it seems like they actually are paying attention, and that's nice.
Yeah.
When it's good, I like it.
Yeah, sure.
When it's bad, I don't like it.
But
Essentially,
they should be the authority that's doing the good.
yes. And that's, this is why comics like Superman got started, because people were just screwing everything up in the real world. And someone said, if only there was someone who could only do good all the time. But they couldn't be human.
Yeah.
Because humans have that asshole gene in them.
That's a good train to follow on. So do you believe that humans are inherently bad?
I believe that I don't believe we're inherently bad. I believe that upbringing is very important. Environment, being nurtured, but not being like too nurtured.
Right. Coddled.
Yeah. I think being taught not to be selfish is very important for a child, not sharing and all that good stuff. The stuff they teach on Sesame Street and all that is important. It's so important in the early stages. And a lot of people don't get that because there's just, so many people have these babies and, they don't, they're like 14 years old, so they give them up for adoption or whatever they do. And, they go to places where they're not loved. They're not treated like a respectable human because there's people in this world that had the same experience. They weren't treated like a human. They weren't treated with love. So it's a pattern. But then there's people that go through that and all they want is to give love. All they want is to nurture people. So it's kind of a case-by-case thing, I think. Yeah. I'm kind of babbling on, but
no, I like babbling on.
Yeah, I think I'm not saying I'm right about everything.
Right.
I'm just saying what I observe. I don't think we're inherently bad people. I think we have the potential to be either the best people we could possibly be. We have the potential to be total jerks. And it's a day-by-day process. What are you going to be today?
Yeah.
Some days you want to be a jerk. Some days people are so bad to you, situations happen, and you get pissed off, and you don't care, and you just want to be a jerk to everybody. And that's what being a human is all about.
Right. How does all of this worldview connect back into your music?
A lot. That kind of observational side of things is how I approach songwriting a lot. I think songs like "Work in Progress," which is the song I'm the most proud of.
Yeah.
I think because it offers an observational view of not only my life or people around me's lives, people like my generation. The last verse is I meant to apply to just me and my partner. But instead, it kind of ended up applying to our whole generation. You know, the '90s kids that they went through the '90s, then they kind of went through the 2000s, started growing up, and now we all have jobs and we have these routines, and then we go through our lives and we sit in bed and we're like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
You know, what just happened here?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of every generation, really. But
Yeah.
specifically, I wrote it for me, and it ended up kind of being an observation of everybody around me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think my worldview definitely informs
Mm-hmm.
the music at some level.
Yeah. And I mean, there's also, like you say, you've written songs about, bad relationships or people that have pissed you off or whatever. And so in a way, you're sort of encouraging better behavior.
Yeah. I like to, I beat up on myself a lot in certain songs. It's always my fault. It's, no,
It's better than Taylor Swift.
Yeah. No, I write some songs that are swiftable, I think. There's one song on Mama's Boy, the most recent Lunar Laugh album. It's called Living a Lie. And it's pretty much an attack on somebody that approached me as a friend, and just I did not want any part of it. And that was one aspect of it. There was a lot of other things mixed in, but that that was a Taylor Swift could cover that if she wanted, and make me a good chunk of change.
Yeah, that'd be fun. She should do that.
Yeah, although she's getting bad PR right now because apparently she's connected to white supremacy or something. I don't know.
Everyone's like 3 steps removed from being a Nazi, apparently.
Yeah,
so
especially white people like me.
Yeah, but you got like a good like defense.
Yeah, and just say I'm gay and they leave me alone.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
And then lastly, what advice do you have for people?
Oh man. Really, like the best, like, are you talking about advice for people or advice for like people in music or
wherever you want to go?
Okay. So, as far as music goes, I would say be aware of your audience and what they like, but don't always play to what they like. Do it for your own enjoyment. As far as people go, don't be a dick.
Yeah.
just take a little time to think about other people for just like maybe 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And also, don't forget how lucky you are to live in a country that is free. So they say.
Yeah.
As bad as it may seem, it could be a lot worse.
Yeah.
You could be living in somewhere where they kidnap you and sell you into sex slavery. And hopefully nobody listening to this has been sold into sex slavery before, because that would be a terrible thing. But it's, that's kind of a message to America, really.
Yeah.
PSA.
Yeah. Thank you, Jared.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm glad to have had you on. I'm glad that you wanted to be on.
I did. I sought it. That's how I get pretty much everything.
Yeah.
I make it happen.
Good.
That's an advice I could give someone. Make it happen.
Yeah,
if you want it, make it happen.
And that's basically what I did with this podcast. I was like, I want to have a podcast, so I did it. Just do it.
In the words of Shia LaBeouf, just do it.
Which could also be taken from Nike, but they don't pay me.
No. No one wears those anymore.
Jared, where can we find you and your things?
You can go to thelunarlaugh.com. That's lunar like moon and laugh like haha, and make sure the is in front of it.
The lunar laugh.
And .com. We're also on Bandcamp, thelunarlaugh.bandcamp.com. If you're interested in my solo stuff, jaredlekites.bandcamp.com, and Jared is Jared, Lekites is Lekites. There's a lot of weird, wild stuff on
there. Awesome. Again, thank you.
Thank you, Santiago.
I'm Santiago Ramones. You can find all the things that I do on my website, santiagoramones.com. I make music. I have this podcast. I have various different things of music. So there's the stuff on my Bandcamp and then my SoundCloud. My SoundCloud's more like composery stuff.
He's really good.
Well, thank you. I try my best.
He's not a dick.
You can buy or download or whatever you want to do to contribute into the internet and my wallet, either my demo or the single of Red. And you can pay $0 and you can pay $1,000. Whichever direction you want to go with that sounds great.
Just think, do you want to be a good person or do you want to be an asshole? Please don't pay $0. That's
no. I mean, I appreciate that people are downloading it in the first place. Yeah. That's fine. You go for it. And if you don't have the money for it, then just download it and tell people about it. It's great. I was on my podcast with my 3 things. They sort of shape my life philosophy and the way that I treat other people. Mm-hmm. Those 3 things are: love never fails. It's going to be okay. I might be wrong.